Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC Vegas 76, Sean Strickland versus Abus Magomedov, and this is going to be my full card predictions. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card and give you a quick breakdown and prediction, starting off with the first fight of the night, Alexandr Romanov versus Blagoy Ivanov. The heavyweight matchup that nobody wants to see, to be quite honest. It's not a very good fight. Thank God it's buried on the prelims. When I look at this matchup, I see a Romanov who is 32 years old to 36 years old, 6'2 to 5'11", 75-inch reach to 73-inch reach. So he has a 3-inch height advantage, 2-inch reach advantage, plus he's 4 years younger for Romanov. Romanov's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak, lost to Alexander Volkov in his last fight, looked horrible, gassed out in 60 seconds. The fight before that, he lost a majority decision to Marcin Tybura, and then his last wins were a submission win over Chase Sherman and a TKO win over Jarrett Van Dare. Talk about bottom of the barrel of UFC heavyweight, which is already the least skilled division. And then you look at Blagoy Ivanov. He's coming off a loss to Marcin Tybura. Before that, he had a win over Marcus Rogerio de Lima. And then before that, 2 split decision losses, one to Augustus Sakai and one to Derek Lewis. I actually thought he won the fight against Derek Lewis, but that's 3.5 years ago. Honestly, this all comes down to what version of Alexandr Romanov shows up. Because after I saw that performance against Volkov, I did not pick him against Volkov. I picked Volkov to win that fight. But after seeing that performance and the way he showed up, like he didn't even train for a fight, it's hard for me to pick him against anyone. I thought, I'm never picking this guy in any fight. But I think this matchup is really grappler versus striker. Romanov's going to want to come in, take you down, beat you up, look to submit you. And Ivanov is going to want to keep it on the feet, look to win standing, and basically look to either get a knockout or basically win via decision. And I think that Alexandr Romanov, being 4 years younger, having the height and reach advantage, plus I do think he has a massive grappling advantage, he's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. I think he knows if he loses this matchup, he's going to be cut from the organization. So I think maybe he trained for 3 or 4 days for this fight rather than just the nothingness he did for the Volkov fight. And I just look at his overall record. Of his 16 wins, he's won 10 by submission, and 8 of those were in the first round. And I think he will be able to go in there and take down Blagoy Ivanov in the first round. And I think he's going to have a little bit of cardio, more than the 60 seconds he showed against Volkov. I think he'll be able to get him down. And I'm going Alexandr Romanov via first round submission. I'm going to say first round Kimura. But if this fight goes past the first round, prepare for an ugly fight because neither one of these guys have a good gas tank. And I don't think this will be a good fight. I think Romanov, knowing that he's on the chopping block, being younger, having the height and reach advantage and the grappling advantage, looking that Ivanov was out-grappled by Marcin Tybura, where Romanov, when he was fresh, was able to easily out-grapple Tybura. I think Romanov's going to come in, bull rush him, take him down, start looking for a submission, eventually find a Kimura in the first round, and Romanov wins via first-round submission. Moving up on the card, Ivana Petrović versus Luana Carolina. Ivana Petrović making her UFC debut in this fight. She's 6-0. She has quite a bit of submissions on her record. She has good BJJ, good submission skills. 5 of her 6 wins are via finish. She has good takedowns as well. Her last fight, she was taking the girl down at will, beating her up. She had to finish almost multiple times throughout the fight, had the full mount, eventually finds the submission later in the fight. You have Luana Carolina, who's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak, lost to Joanne Wood via split decision, got finished by Molly McCann, who's an absolute garbage can, and got KO'd by her in kind of a back-and-forth fight up until that point. You look at them, they're both close to the same age, close to the same height, close to the same reach. There's nothing really that separates them too much when you look at the tail of the tape. And honestly, I don't think Luana Carolina is that good of a fighter. And I think Petrović has some maybe future prospect potential. And I'm going to go Ivana Petrović via third round submission. She has good cardio. Her last fight, she was going 5 rounds. She finished her in the 4th round. She had a crazy output in that fight. So I think her cardio will last in this fight against Luana Carolina. I think she can outstrike her. I think she can take Carolina down. Joanne Wood was kind of bullying her in the clinch. Molly McCann was kind of bullying her in the clinch. I think Petrović has shown good grappling. I think she'll be able to get it done. I think that Ivana Petrović will eventually just take her down, wear on her, beat her up, mix it up in the clinch. And I think eventually, as Carolina gets tired, I think Petrović will find a submission. I am going Ivana Petrović via third round submission. I'm going to say rear naked choke. Moving up on the card, Guram Kutateladze versus Elves Brener. What a fight this is. I am really looking forward to this matchup. Guram Kutateladze was supposed to fight a couple weeks ago, pulled out with visa issues. This is going to be a fun fight. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Kutateladze is one of those guys who, I know he's not ranked right now, but I think he's one of those top caliber lightweight guys. But the lightweight division is so good that he's outside the rankings. He's coming off a loss against Damir Ismagulov via split decision roughly a year ago. It was a very close fight. Could have went either way, honestly. Before that, has a win over Mateusz Gamrot. I actually thought he lost this fight pretty clearly. He got the split decision win, but nonetheless, it was a super competitive fight. And that was his UFC debut, so he's been kind of inactive. So he's been in the UFC for roughly 3 years, only has 2 fights, pulling out of fights left and right. Last fight, he had visa issues. Now he's fighting Elves Brener, who was supposed to fight somebody else on this card. So it is a short notice fight for Brener. You look at Brener, he's coming in on a 3-fight winning streak. He beat Zubara Tuhugov in his last fight. He could have lost that matchup. It was a split decision win. He was getting outstruck a bit in that matchup. He had a good first round, but after that, I thought he kind of lost. And that was his first fight in the UFC. You look at comparisons in the tail of the tape. Both guys, similar experience. 31 to 25 years old. Brenner's 25. 5'11 to 5'10, and both have a 72-inch reach. So very similar in terms of the tail of the tape. And I just look at Guram Kutateladze. I'm very high on him. I'm very high on his striking ability. I think, you look at his overall resume, 7 out of his 12 wins are via TKO. He has great striking. He has good power. He's fought good competition. I mean, Damir Ismagulov and Mateusz Gamrot, both guys are, I want to say, elite lightweights. And Mateusz Gamrot's ranked in the top 10, I believe, right now. And I don't think Damir is ranked anymore, but he's still a very good lightweight. That's how deep that division is. And you look at Brener, he has 11 of 14 wins by submission. He was supposed to fight Jordan Levitt on this card. And I think that's a massive difference between going to take on Jordan Levitt and now he's taking on Guram Kutateladze. I think he's set up for failure. I think Guram Kutateladze is going to have way better striking in this matchup, way more power in this matchup. I think Brener has decent striking, but I think overall, Guram Kutateladze gets it done. I'm going Guram Kutateladze via first round TKO. I just think he's the better overall striker, and I think this is too much too soon for Elves Brener. And Guram was already in training camp for a previous fight, so it's not like he's going to come in out of shape. Moving up on the card, Yana Santos versus Karol Rosa. Not really looking forward to this matchup, even though this is a decent card. I know I've been kind of crapping on some of these matchups, but this is a decent card. But Yana Santos versus Karol Rosa, not really super excited for. Yana Santos, 33 years old to 28 years old for Rosa, 5'8 to 5'5, 68.5-inch reach to 67.5-inch reach. So a 3-inch height advantage for Santos and a 5-year youth advantage for Rosa. Santos is coming off the loss to Holly Holm, where she got outstruck and outgrappled. The fight before that, she got finished by Irene Aldana. Just got dropped brutally, I think, with a punch, and then finished on the ground. Her last wins against Ketlin Vieira almost 2.5 years ago. And, I mean, that's so long ago. To have your last win that long ago, she sat out for a while. I think she was pregnant. You look at Karol Rosa, she lost to Norma Dumont in her last fight. It was a horrible performance by both girls. And then the last win was against Lena Landsberg, and she actually got dropped in that fight. Not a very good performance from either girl. Yana Santos fighting twice in the last few years. She has some decent kicks, but she's getting up there in age. She's 33 years old. Honestly, this is one of those fights that could go either way. I'm going Karol Rosa via decision. I think Yana Santos will have the advantage in the striking. I think she'll be landing some kicks. She'll be teep kicking to the body. I could pick Santos in this fight, but I just think Rosa is going to be a little bit more grittier. I think she's going to be clinching up with her. I think she's going to take her down. And if Holly Holm's out grappling you very successfully, I think Karol Rosa, who's coming down from 45 in her last fight, I know she's fought at bantamweight before, I think she'll be able to out grapple Yana Santos, and I think she'll win via decision. I think it'll be like a 29-28 decision. Maybe Santos barely wins the first round. Moving up on the card, we have Joanderson Brito versus Weston Wilson. What a weird matchup this is, to be quite honest, because Joanderson Brito was supposed to fight somebody else. They pulled out of the fight. Weston Wilson got put in as a late notice replacement because his management is Iridium, and UFC and kind of Iridium work hand in hand. I mean, honestly, this fight has no business even being put together. You look at Brito, he's 14-3-1. Wilson is 16-7. 28 years old to 34 years old. Wilson's making his UFC debut at 34 years old. 5'8" to 6'1", so a height advantage for Wilson, and 72-inch reach to 73-inch reach, so a 1-inch reach for Wilson. But honestly, this fight has no business being made. Brito is an absolute savage, has crazy power, crazy striking, crazy aggressive, has good BJJ, has good submission skills. He has 12 of his 14 wins are via stoppage. And you look at Wilson, the guys he's fought aren't even close to like UFC caliber. The last guy he beat was 8-5. The guy before that, 4-3. The guy before that, 9-19. He beat a guy that's 9-19. And then not that long ago, he lost to Ishihara. And that's a former UFC fighter who's not even that great. He lost to him 10 months ago. So I think this is going to be an absolute slaughter. I think either Brito hurts him badly early and then gets a submission in the first round, or he just finishes him via brutal KO. I am going to go Joanderson Brito via first round KO. I think he's going to clip him badly on the feet, just swarm and finish him out cold. It's going to be a nasty finish. This fight has no business being put together in the UFC. Moving up on the card, the last prelim, the featured prelim, we have Kevin Lee versus Rinat Fakhretdinov. What a matchup this is. And I actually called this matchup when Kevin Lee got re-signed to the UFC. I thought the UFC was going to try to build someone's name off of Kevin Lee, and that's why they re-signed him, particularly as a favor to Ali Abdelaziz. And they're throwing him right to Rinat Fakhretdinov. For those of you who don't know, Kevin Lee fought in the UFC before. He was kind of hit or miss. He fought for an interim belt at one point in time against Tony Ferguson, was winning the fight, gassed out, and then eventually lost to Tony Ferguson. He's coming off a win over Diego Sanchez in Eagle FC, and he looked horrible in that fight. And I know he blew out his knee, but he just looked absolutely atrocious. The fight before that, he lost to Daniel Rodriguez in the UFC. Fight before that, he got submitted by Charles Oliveira. That's 3 years ago at this point. That's insanity that's been that long. And then his last good win was against Gregor Gillespie. I was actually there live, UFC 244, November 2019. Brutal head kick KO. You look at Kevin Lee's 30 years old to 31, 5'9" to 6 foot, 77-inch reach to 74-inch reach. So nothing really stands out there. 3-inch reach advantage for Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee is primarily a wrestler, but he did improve on his striking over the years. But I look at Rinat Fakhretdinov, and I think he is a contender in the welterweight division. He's a massive welterweight. And I just don't know if Kevin Lee is going to be able to deal with the pressure of Rinat Fakhretdinov. And you don't know who you're getting with Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee is just so inconsistent. Meanwhile, Rinat Fakhretdinov, you look at his last fight against Brian Battle, absolutely wrecked Brian Battle. The fight before that beat Andreas Michailidis. Both of those guys he outgrappled. I do wonder if Kevin Lee can stuff the takedown, which he has good wrestling, which wouldn't shock me if he can stuff it early. Can he outstrike him? What is his striking going to look like? If it's the same Kevin Lee that showed up against Diego Sanchez, he's going to get destroyed. But I think ultimately, Rinat Fakhretdinov is decent enough on the feet. He's relentless with the takedowns. I'm going Rinat Fakhretdinov via decision. I think he's going to win 30-27 decision. I think he's going to be pumping the jab. I think he's going to be pushing Kevin Lee against the fence. I think Kevin Lee might have a good first round, but I think it's going to be downhill after that. I think Rinat's going to slowly start getting the takedowns from the clinch, and I think he's going to beat him up on the ground, and Kevin Lee's going to start to gas, and I think Rinat Fakhretdinov's just going to beat him up, stack him against the fence, brutalize him, land some ground and pound, and then he's not going to be able to finish him because Kevin Lee is good enough where he's not going to go out there and just get finished, and also Rinat Fakhretdinov's not like a known finisher. But I think he could get it done. I mean, you know, Rinat's not finishing in the UFC in his 2 fights in the UFC, but you look at his overall career, 17 of 21 wins by finish. But he's finishing lower level guys, I don't think, and I'm not saying Kevin Lee's like some elite of the elite, but I think Kevin Lee will be able to survive on the ground. I think Kevin Lee will have a decent first round. Maybe this will be a 29-28 win for Rinat Fakhretdinov, but I think ultimately the pressure in the wrestling gets it done for Rinat Fakhretdinov. I'm going Rinat Fakhretdinov via decision. Moving up on the card, we have Bruno Ferreira versus Nursulton Ruziboev. Ruziboev stepping in for Abdul Razak Al Hassan, 34-8, 29 years old, 6'4". There's no reach listed. Bruno Ferreira, 10-0, undefeated, 30 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach. So a 6-inch height advantage for Ruziboev. Maybe a massive reach advantage, but we don't know. We don't have a reach listed on Tapology. You know, I know there's been a trend recently of guys stepping in on short notice and getting the finish and getting wins. And maybe that trend continues with this fight. But you look at Ruziboev, he's 34-8, 34 wins. That's crazy, but it's kind of a padded record. 32 of those wins are via stoppage, but if you look at some of those wins, his last win was against a guy who's 12-12. You look at 5 fights ago, he beat a guy who's 4-4. So that record is a bit padded. I think he's going to come into this fight. He's well-rounded, but I think he's going to want to grapple. And I think Bruno Ferreira is going to be able to stuff the takedown, be able to scramble out of bad positions. And I think Bruno Ferreira is an absolute savage on the feet. He stepped in on short notice against Gregory Rodriguez in his last fight and absolutely slept him. He's a guy coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. He's still young. He's 30 years old. And I just think, I also saw in tape Ruziboev, very heavy on that lead leg. Bruno Ferreira, one of his best weapons is the leg kick. And I think he's going to be brutally chopping the legs. Bruno Ferreira, all 10 of his wins via finish, and 7 of those via TKO. I am going Bruno Ferreira via second round TKO. I'm going to say a leg kick stoppage TKO for Bruno Ferreira. I think he's going to be chopping that calf. I think Ruziboev is going to be looking for takedowns, not be able to get him. If he does get him down for a split second, Ferreira will scramble back to his feet. And I think Ferreira is going to be chopping the body, chopping the legs, landing upstairs. He may eventually use the leg kicks to set up a KO, but I think he's going to end up finishing him with leg kicks in this matchup. I'm going second round TKO for Bruno Ferreira. Moving up on the card, we have Benoit Saint-Denis versus Ismael Bonfim. What a matchup this is. Saint-Denis, 27 years old, 5'11", 73-inch reach. You look at Bonfim, 27 years old, 5'8", 71-inch reach. So a 3-inch height and 2-inch reach advantage for Saint-Denis. This is going to be a great fight. Saint-Denis coming in off 2 stoppage victories. Ismael Bonfim coming off his UFC debut against Terrence McKinney, where he beat him up and then flying knee KO'd him. Honestly, I think a lot of people are going to be picking Bonfim in this fight. It would not shock me if Saint-Denis wins this fight because he's just an absolute savage. This fight will be amazing. I know why it's on the main card. I think Bonfim, though, is a little bit more well-rounded, and also I think he's a little bit more technical on the feet. Benoit Saint-Denis, though, all 10 of his wins are via stoppage as well. I know I just talked about that with Bruno Ferreira. Has crazy power in his left hand, just constantly rocking guys with his left hand. He's super durable, but he's also super crazy and wild, and I think that's going to get him in trouble against a guy like Bonfim. Bonfim sometimes will get a little bit crazy, and I also do think Bonfim's being elevated a little bit too much off that win over Terrence McKinney, and I think he could lose this fight, and I thought about picking Saint-Denis in this matchup, but Saint-Denis just takes way too much damage, you know. He lost to Elizeu Zaleski, took a lot of damage in that fight, took some shots in his last 2 fights as well, and I think Bonfim, you know, is going to come out a little bit more measured, be a little bit more technical. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedowns if Saint-Denis does look for takedowns, and I just think he's going to light him up on the feet. I'm going Ismael Bonfim via decision. I think he gets it done, but I think it's going to be an outright war. I think Saint-Denis is going to have some moments in this fight as well. I'm going to say 29-28 decision win for Ismael Bonfim. Moving up on the card, we have Ariane Lipski versus Melissa Gatto. Not dying to see this matchup by any means. Lipski, 29 years old, 5'6", 67-inch reach. You have Gatto, who's 27 years old, 5'5", 69-inch reach. So a 2-inch reach advantage for Gatto. You know, this is a matchup where Lipski looked pretty good in her last fight. Her last fight was against J.J. Aldridge, but J.J. Aldridge isn't that good. She showed good footwork, good combinations, good defensive wrestling. The fight before that, she got finished by Priscilla Cachoeira. The last fight for Gatto, she lost to Tracy Cortez, got out-grappled in that fight, got out-scrambled in that fight. And then before that, she beat Sijara Eubanks. That means absolutely nothing. So there's no sense in even talking about it. Both young, both kind of trying to make their way as a contender in the flyweight division, but I don't think they ever will be. I think Lipski's improving. She's very young. I think she's still improving. She's got good footwork. She has absolutely no head movement, but she primarily relies on her kicks, and then also she's very good in the clinch with her knees. She showed that in her last fight against J.J. Aldridge. Every time J.J. Aldridge would look for a takedown, she would beat her up to the body with knees. I'm going Ariane Lipski via 29-28 decision. I think Gatto is going to be looking for the takedown, looking for submissions, but she doesn't even have great offensive takedowns. She has okay offensive wrestling, but she also doesn't have great defensive wrestling as well. So I see Lipski could take advantage of Gatto's over-aggression and hip toss her to the ground. Lipski has shown great hip tosses in the past, taking her down. I think Gatto has horrible takedown defense because she likes to be on her back and likes looking for submissions. But I don't think she's going to get it against Lipski. I think Lipski will disengage when she needs to. I think she'll beat her up in the clinch when Gatto clinches up, looking for the takedown. And I think she'll knee her to the body, beat her up in the clinch. And I think Ariane Lipski wins via 29-28 decision. Moving up on the card, Max Griffin versus Michael Morales. What a matchup this is. Let's be honest. This is a fight that the UFC is attempting to make to build up the star power of Michael Morales. They look at him as a young prospect. They're putting him against Max Griffin, who's getting up there in age, and they're looking to have him make a showcase performance. This is the featured fight of the night. You look at Max Griffin, 37 years old, 5'11", 76-inch reach. You look at Morales, 24 years old, 6 foot, 79-inch reach. So a height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage and a massive, massive 13-year youth advantage for Michael Morales. You look at Max Griffin coming off a win over Tim Means, won via split decision, got hurt a couple times by Tim Means in this fight, or got clipped up by Tim Means a couple times. Lost to Neil Magny in a fight that he honestly could have won, got out-grappled a bit in that fight and got kind of pressed up against the fence. Has a win over Carlos Condit 2 years ago, but Carlos Condit was on his way out and on a massive decline. Michael Morales coming off that win over Adam Fugit, brutally KO'd him. The fight before that, KO'd Trevin Giles. Both of those KOs were kind of in close shots where, he landed tight shots and just hurt him badly and then finished him on the ground. Michael Morales, I think, is a very good up-and-coming prospect that we need to keep an eye on. I think he's still growing and still learning. And, he just has a massive youth advantage. And you look at his overall record, he has 12 of his 14 wins are via finish. He has very good striking, good power. He has a great jab. And I think this is a showcase matchup for him. I think he's going to go out there against Max Griffin, be able to outstrike him, and I think he's going to find a KO. I'm going Michael Morales via first-round KO. I think Max Griffin is good. I think he's okay. I think he's a good test for Michael Morales. I think it's a good measuring stick for where he's at. But I think Griffin's going to try to grapple early. I think Michael Morales is going to stuff the takedowns. And he's very good on the exits of clinches, landing good short shots like he did in his last 2 fights. I think Max Griffin's going to be in on the clinch, looking for a takedown. They're going to break. And then instead of backing off and having that reset moment, Michael Morales will just start throwing combinations, and I think that's what's going to happen in this fight. They're going to disengage from a clinch or an attempted takedown from Max Griffin, and I think he's going to land a big shot, drop him, and finish him with TKO, via TKO. I'm going Michael Morales first round TKO. Moving on to the co-main event, Damir Ismagulov versus Grant Dawson. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Damir Ismagulov said he was retiring after his last fight, so I don't know if he's still retiring after this one or what. His last fight was against Arman Tsarukyan. Got out grappled in this matchup, but had some good scrambles, had some moments on the feet, but we know how good Arman Tsarukyan is. The fight before that, he won against Guram Kutateladze via split decision. That fight could have went either way, honestly, but we know how good Guram Kutateladze is as well. Has a win over Rafael Alves, which is a decent win as well. You look at Grant Dawson coming in off a win over Mark Madsen where he submitted him, and a win over Jarrett Gordon where he submitted him. Damir Ismagulov, 32 years old, 5'10", 74-inch reach. Grant Dawson, 29 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach, so a 2-inch reach advantage for Damir Ismagulov. We know what Grant Dawson wants to do. Grant Dawson wants to come in, look to take you down, look to find a submission. Damir Ismagulov, I know he got out-grappled by Arman, but there is levels to this game. Grant Dawson does not have the level of grappling of Arman Tsarukyan. And even in the Tsarukyan fight, I know Ismagulov lost because of the grappling, but he had some good scrambles, was able to get back to his feet, got in bad positions where Arman was on his back and was able to scramble out of it and get back to his feet. I think that Damir Ismagulov's striking is going to be way too much for Grant Dawson. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedowns, beat him up on the feet. I think he'll be pumping the jab. He had Guram Kutateladze shooting takedowns on him. That's how good Damir Ismagulov is on the feet. And Grant Dawson, even against Jarrett Gordon was able to push Grant Dawson against the fence a little bit and control him a little bit. I think even get some takedowns and out-scramble him in that fight. And that fight was only a year ago, and Jarrett Gordon is not that great of a fighter. So I think Damir Ismagulov, it should be a massive favorite here. I'm very confident Damir Ismagulov gets this win. Grant Dawson is improving, but I just don't think he's going to be able to go out there and bully Damir Ismagulov and out-grapple him, and that's the way he has to win this fight. I'm going Damir Ismagulov via third-round TKO because Grant Dawson, from all the grappling and all the takedowns that are going to be stuffed, I think he's going to be gassed in the third round. He typically slows down, and Damir Ismagulov, we know he has good cardio. He can grapple and strike for 3 rounds. Look at the matchup against Arman Tsarukyan. I think Damir Ismagulov catches him with a right hand in the third round, puts him down, finishes him via third round TKO. Moving up on the card, we have the main event, Sean Strickland versus Abus Magomedov. What a weird fight to try to predict, because Abus Magomedov, not even currently ranked, 1 fight in the UFC. And I know a lot of people were saying, why is he getting this fight? Why is this happening? We need fresh contenders in the middleweight division. So that's why this fight's happening. Sean Strickland coming off a win over Nassourdine Imavov. The fight before that, he lost to Jared Cannonier via split decision. Fight before that, he got KO'd by Alex Ferreira. Fight before that, he beat Jack Hermanson. Fight before that, he beat Uriah Hall. He's 32 years old, 6'1", 76-inch reach. You look at Abus Magomedov coming in over the win over Dustin Stolfus in his UFC debut. The fight before that, I can't even pronounce the guy's name, but a winner in KSW. He has a loss against Lewis Taylor, but that was 4.5 years ago where he got brutally KO'd, got caught with a left hook. It's just, there's a lot of unknown about Magomedov. He's 32 years old, 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. So a slight height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage for Magomedov. Honestly, I've been really good at picking Sean Strickland fights. I picked him to beat Nassourdine Imavov on short notice. I picked him to lose to Jared Cannonier. It was a very close fight. He lost via split decision. I picked him to get KO'd by Alex Ferreira. I picked him to beat Jack Hermanson. So I've been really good. I'm 4-0, I believe, on the channel at picking Sean Strickland fights. But this matchup is so difficult because I am kind of a believer in Abus, but there's such limited information, He got KO'd in PFL, and, he has a good win over Saudi boy Sai, and he's looking good in PFL, but that was 5 years ago. So what does that really mean? It doesn't really mean anything. Abus is kind of a rangy striker who's looking for the KO, and he has a lot of fights under his belt, but again, it's not against the best competition, 25-4, but not fighting, the elite of the elite competition, not fighting horrible competition, but, not fighting the best. This is a really tough fight to pick because I feel like typically I always go with the more experienced guy, the more known commodity. And in that case, it's Sean Strickland. I picked him against Nassourdine Imavov. Most people were picking Imavov. But for my prediction for this fight, I'm going Abus Magomedov via second round TKO. I was watching some of that fight against Nassourdine Imavov. Initially going into this, before watching any fight footage, I was going Sean Strickland via decision. Then I started watching some of his recent fights. And I know he, had a very close fight with Jared Cannonier, and Jared Cannonier looked really good against Marvin Vettori recently. But I think Jared Cannonier improved vastly from fight to fight. And I just see Sean Strickland, he keeps his hands so low, and there's that meme of the girl holding her hands like this. And that's kind of what he did against Alex Pereira, and he got clipped with that left hook and put to sleep. And Abus is very, very accurate on the feet. He's super long, super rangy, has good in and out movement, and has unbelievable power. He has 20 of his 25 wins are via finish, and 14 of those are via TKO. He has great kicks. In his last fight against Stolfus, he landed a front kick and then finished him off in like 20 seconds or something like that. I think it's like 15 seconds. So we've only seen Magomedov in the cage for under 30 seconds in the UFC cage. So it's very hard for me to pick him, and I don't know about how his cardio is going to be in 5 rounds, but I just think he's going to get it done. The way I see Strickland move, and I know he has the offensive wrestling to kind of mix in, and he has good takedown defense, but I just think Magomedov is just going to flow really well. I think he's going to be looking for those big shots. He's kind of like a sniper on the feet, looking for those big shots, looking for those dynamic kicks. He's going to be deep into the body. He's going to be throwing front kicks up the middle. We know Sean Strickland isn't even going to mix in his grappling, and even if he did, I think Magomedov will be able to stuff the takedowns. And I think ultimately that style of Sean Strickland where he just plots forward and just pumps the jab is just way too predictable. And I think Abus Magomedov is starting to hit his prime. I think he's going to have a speed advantage in this fight. I think he has a power advantage in this fight. And I think he's going to find that one big shot that hurts Sean Strickland and then swarm him with kicks and punches and finish Sean Strickland via TKO in the second round. It was hard for me to make this pick, honestly, because Sean Strickland, I think he's only been finished twice in his career. But I just think the way he strikes can only go so far against certain strikers. And I think Abus Magomedov is going to be one of these guys that can expose that deficiency where Sean Strickland just walks forward and just throws the same techniques over and over and over again. And I think Abus Magomedov, with his power, with his rangy kicks, I think he'll be able to expose him in this fight. And I'm going Abus Magomedov via second round TKO. If Sean Strickland wins this fight, I think he wins it via decision. I do wonder about Magomedov's 5-round cardio. We haven't seen him go 5 rounds before. So I do wonder about that. We know Sean Strickland has 5-round cardio even on short notice. So I think if it goes longer, I favor Strickland. But I think Magomedov is going to be able to find that kill shot, hurt Sean Strickland on the feet, and then TKO him with a swarm and a blitz and being super aggressive, looking for that kill, and eventually finish Sean Strickland in the second round. I think the first round is going to be kind of those guys feeling each other out, not really throwing a whole lot. Sean Strickland just plotting forward, pumping the jab. And also I think Magomedov, the shot selection, he has a great variety of attack. He started off his finish in his UFC debut with a front kick right up the middle, landed right on his chin. So I think the kicks of Magomedov is going to be a very key advantage in this fight. Sean Strickland doesn't throw a whole lot of kicks. He just uses his hands. And when you're that one-dimensional, You're just very predictable. And I think Magomedov's going to be able to time him. I think he's going to get a feel for his striking in that first round. And I think in the second round, he's going to find a shot that's going to hurt Sean Strickland bad. Abus Magomedov, second round TKO. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.